Hi guys, it's Lauren and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be telling you about the murder of Jessica Lunsford. So without further ado, let's get into the video. It was Friday, February 24th, 2005, when Mark Lunsford woke up at 5 a.m. to his alarm to get ready for work that morning. He was a dump truck driver for a company called the Dirt Boys. He lived in a double-wide trailer in Florida, which he shared with his parents, Ruth and Archie, and his 9-year-old daughter, Jessica. When he turned his alarm off, he then heard Jessica's alarm going off because she normally got up around the same time as him to get ready for school. According to the St. Petersburg Times, he had gotten home late the previous night from a date with his girlfriend, and Jessica made sure to say goodnight to him before he left. Jessica was a very affectionate daughter. She would often call her father at work just to tell him that she loved him. As he got ready for work, he realized Jessica's alarm was still going off. He figured that she wasn't waking up to it, so he decided to go in and get her. There was a sign on her door that she had made with her grandma that was pink with magic marker, and it said, "Please knock before entering." Mark opened the door expecting to see his daughter there sleeping, but she wasn't there. Her bed was empty, and the toy tiger that she normally slept with was left behind. He checked the house for her, but there was no luck, and he realized that the door was actually unlocked. So he decided to call 911, or it was the grandmother, I'm not really sure, sources said different things, but one of the two called 911. An investigation started and friends and family came to help search for her, including police dogs as well, but they unfortunately came up empty. And by the next day, hundreds of volunteers came to help search. Jessica Lunsford was born on October 6, 1995 in Gastonia, North Carolina. Her parents divorced when she was only 1 year old, and her father got full custody. Everyone described her as a quiet girl with a radiant smile. She always slept with a toy tiger, a nightlight, and a flashlight on her nightstand because she was afraid of the dark. Her grandmother told investigators that Jessica was very particular about her room. She never let people in without permission, and she also never strayed far from home because she didn't trust people. Jessica and her father were very close. They would go to a bar to sing karaoke, they would go on motorcycle rides together. She was well behaved and cared about her schoolwork. She also told people that she wanted to be a singer, an Olympic swimmer, or a fashion designer. Her favorite color was purple. She was part of the church's youth group, and she loved dolls and stuffed animals, which she had a ton of in her room. Now, when she went missing, her family noticed that the giant purple dolphin that her dad won for her at the county fair was missing. In the days following her disappearance, investigators checked all of the known sex offenders in the area. One red flag is that one known sex offender, 46-year-old John Evander Cooey, was not living at the address he was registered to. Convicted sex offenders are required by law to let authorities know when they plan to change residences. John had been arrested multiple times for drug violation. His past charges also include burglary, carrying a concealed weapon, disorderly intoxication, driving under the influence, indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, fraud, insufficient funds, and larceny. His driver's license was suspended for 99 years. In 1991, he was arrested and charged with fondling a child under the age of 16. Detectives learned that he moved in with his half-sister, 47-year-old Dorothy, her boyfriend, 31-year-old Matthew, and her daughter and son-in-law, 27-year-old Maddie, 35-year-old Jean. They all lived in a trailer that was in sight of Jessica's trailer. Detectives got to Dorothy's home, and they found her boyfriend, and her daughter. When they were asked where John was, they said that they didn't know and denied that he even lived there. Detectives basically described these people all as druggies, and they all decided to search the premises for John or Jessica. They went back to the trailer on March 14th, 19 days after Jessica's disappearance, and they decided to do another search. They even checked the closets, but found nothing incriminating. However, in John's bedroom, they found blood on his mattress. The search for him got more desperate, but everyone else in the trailer claimed they still have no idea where he is. Turns out he fled to Georgia 2 weeks earlier with a bus ticket, and it was a one-way ticket to Savannah. John Cooey was bald, he was 5'4" and 125 pounds, and he had blue eyes, but he looked a lot older than he actually was. He'd been in trouble with the law for most of his adult life, and within a 30-year time frame, he was arrested 24 times. Shortly after he checked into a homeless shelter in Georgia, John was questioned by the police for a possible marijuana possession violation. However, the police did not hold him and they were unaware of what was going on in Florida. He then went from Savannah, Georgia to Augusta, Georgia. He stayed at a Salvation Army center, and by this point, Jessica's disappearance was national news. And a secretary at the shelter actually saw a picture of John on the news. She called the police and told them that she saw somebody who looked a lot like the wanted man. Augusta police picked him up and held him for failing to register as a sex offender in Georgia. Authorities contacted the Citrus County Sheriff's Department in Florida, and 2 detectives showed up on March 17th to Georgia. They interviewed John, and he was very distraught and agitated. After several hours of questioning, he still said that he did not know Jessica's whereabouts. During the interview, he was asked if he could take a lie detector test, and he said, "I guess," but then he proceeded to ask for a lawyer, which he ended up asking 7 times. They continued to question him, but they never gave him a lawyer. And later on, detectives actually said that he was unclear about his wishes. They weren't sure if he wanted to stop the questioning until a lawyer got there, if he wanted to keep the questioning going until a lawyer got there, or if he only wanted a lawyer present for the polygraph test. The next day, he took a polygraph test administered by FBI agent John Whitmore. However, during that, he broke down and confessed to the abduction and murder of Jessica Lunsford, and he said where they could find her. He said he entered the Lunsford's house at around 3 a.m. on February 24th and saw Jessica lying in her bed. He woke her up and told her to be quiet and told her to follow him back to his sister's house. He said that she was compliant, and police found no signs of struggle in her room. John admitted to raping Jessica in his room when they got there, and then keeping her in bed with him that night, and then raping her again in the morning. He then put her in his closet and told her to wait there while he was at work and not let anyone know that she was there. And she listened. John told them that he had been drinking and getting high the night that he kidnapped her. He remembered cooking her a burger at one point and then making her urinate in the closet so nobody else would know that she was there. He kept her in there for 3 days, including when the investigators stopped by. Once he found out he was being looked for, he figured he had to do something with Jessica. So he decided to bury her alive. The investigators showed back up at the trailer, and they found a shallow grave where John said it would be. Jessica's body was found inside 2 tied plastic garbage bags. Her wrists were bound, but she was able to poke 2 fingers through the plastic, attempting to free herself. And once the bags were removed, they noticed she was clutching her purple dolphin. Her body was taken to a morgue in Leesburg, Florida, where an autopsy was performed. It was noted that she was placed feet first into the first garbage bag and head first into the second. Both bags were securely knotted, and the likely cause of death was suffocation, which probably took 3 to 5 minutes. Her nails had peach-colored nail polish on them, and her 2 fingers were partially mummified. Vaginal lacerations were found to prove that she was sexually assaulted, and her gastrointestinal tract was also basically empty. It was estimated that she last ate between 12 hours and 3 to 4 days before her death. Traces of cocaine were also found on her body, but none was ingested. It just proves that she was in an environment where cocaine was used. On Sunday, March 20th, John was booked into the Citrus County Jail, where he was also put on suicide watch. Dorothy, Maddie, and Matthew were all charged with obstruction of justice for lying to the police. Now, Gene was not at the trailer at the time the detective stopped by, but he was charged with failure to pay child support. Jessica's mother, Angela Bryant, was determined to make John pay. And then her father, Mark, said that he really wanted him to get the death penalty. In the weeks after Jessica's body was found, Mark insisted that tougher laws had to be made to protect other children. A bill was then written that required increased prison sentences, electronic tracking of all convicted sex offenders on probation, and mandatory use of state databases by all local probation officials so known sex offenders could not avoid law enforcement. The Jessica Lunsford Act was quickly approved and signed into law by Governor Jeb Bush on May 2, 2005. The law took effect on September 1st. On April 1st, 2005, the grand jury indicted John on charges of first-degree murder, burglary, sexual battery, and kidnapping. The charges against his housemates were all dropped, and 5 days later, John appeared in court and pled not guilty. The state declared that the death penalty would be on the table, and he was taken back to jail and held without bail. On March 5, 2006, 2 correction officers were making small talk, not thinking that John could hear them over the TV. The one guard asked the other one why she wouldn't allow her kids to go to daycare, and she said because she was afraid of what could happen to them there, and then she pointed to John. After she left, John called the other one over and said that what he heard really hurt his feelings. He said he didn't mean to kill Jessica. In the spring of 2006, the judge struggled to find an impartial jury. This case was national news. Everybody knew about what happened and already formed an opinion on John. He decided to avoid residents in the area where the crime occurred. He did decide to choose jurors from the county that was the furthest away from where the crime occurred, which was Lake County. In June, the judge heard the pre-trial testimony. He ruled that John's confession had to be thrown out because his rights were violated when he was asked for legal representation multiple times. By July 13th, 58 jurors were selected, but then the judge suddenly decided he couldn't come up with an impartial jury in a timely manner, so he canceled all further jury selection. The judge also decided that it'd be best if there was a change in venue for the trial. John would be tried on February 12, 2007 at the complete other end of the state. While this went on, Mark organized a group of bikers, which he called Jesse's Riders, and they wore matching baseball caps and matching leather jackets in honor of Jessica. He also got her face tattooed on his chest, which he said was a way for him to still be able to touch her face. The evidence presented by the prosecution included the DNA from Jessica's blood, the semen on John's mattress, and the fingerprints in Jessica's blood that was in the closet of the trailer. The investigators and detectives testified about John's repeated confessions and great detail he went into when it came to the crime. The defense called experts to the stand to talk about John's chronic alcohol and drug abuse, mental illnesses, and lifetime emotional abuse. The defense also argued that John's below average IQ level rendered him mentally handicapped. According to a 2002 Supreme Court ruling, this would disqualify him from the possibility of getting the death sentence. The judge, however, ruled that his IQ results were at a 78, which is 8 points higher than the standard score for mental retardation. During the trial, John passed the time by coloring with colored pencils. On March 7th, the jury found John guilty of all charges. On August 11th, the Miami jury was 10-2 in favor of the death penalty. On September 30th, 2009, John Evander Cooey died in prison of natural causes. According to CNN, a source close to the case said that John's death was not unexpected and he had been ill for some time. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. I don't really care. Subscribe for you. Comment down below what cases you would like to see next. Let me know what you guys thought on this case. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!